All right, so let me weigh in on this, which has become now a national conversation. And let me give a little background. I am Taharqa Obika, African name, Taharqa Obika. I have given my children African names. And of the 39 years I've been on this planet, and of the 21 years since turning 18, I have led youth organizations. I was the president of the We African Society, a position I took. And upon taking the position, the first thing I did was, in the quadrangle in UWI, for Freshers Week, list the names of the African names that are common in Trinidad that persons may not be aware African names. I had put up a sign, Candice. We got about 18 Candices joining the African Society that year, in that week, because a lot of them didn't know that Candice is actually an African name. It's a title given to queens in the kingdom of Kush, Ethiopia, ancient Ethiopia. Now, I've seen a lot of persons expressing outrage, all right? When Malcolm X said that the name that you have is a slave name, and he took his last name, Shabazz, and he took it out and he put whatever his last name was, and he put an X there. And Cassius, boxer Cassius Clay put Cassius X. You understand? Because he didn't want to bear the slave name until he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. Now, African names. I've grown up in an organization, a Pan-African organization with Pan-African connections. And what we tell persons of African descent, this African descent was foisted on us. What we tell Africans, because it took Trinidadians a long time to consider themselves Africans. What we tell Africans, and finally they've come around to the notion that they are Africans. They're not black, they're not Creole, you understand? They're not Afro, they're not African descendant. They're Africans. This is the 6th region of Africa. We are in the diaspora. Africa North, South, East, West, Central, and the 6th region is the diaspora. We are Africans. There's nowhere you can go in Europe and find a mass amount of Europeans bearing African names. There's nowhere in the subcontinent, in Asia, in South America, you can go and find the major races in those places bearing African names. Then where did we get these names? They came from slavery. That is the reality. When Malcolm X stated of a problem. Alright? When someone else who is not African said they have a problem, no man. If you had a problem and it triggered you so much, there's a simple solution. Go on the internet. Before in NJAC, we used to sell these books. You don't have to sell it anymore. We used to educate persons on the meanings of the names. We don't have to do that anymore. Because all the information is freely available on the internet. Go on the internet. If you are an African, I'm speaking to my brother Karim Marcel, who is the beneficiary of the Macandal Dagger Scholarship to study law, and he have a problem with an African name. You understand? He can realize he carrying a slave name, Karim Marcel. My brother Karim. Alright? Go on the internet. Find an African name that appeals to your spirit. And go down to the Red House. Well, not the Red House. Go down to wherever you have to go in Port of Spain now. Where women go when they get married and they do a deed poll. Go and change your name. And carry a name. Because the only thing that you leave, it have no U-Haul, as Denzel Washington say, when behind a hearse. When you're dead, the only thing that you carry is your name. And what this experience has taught me is that all the work of my parents in Njak, my uncles and aunts in Njak, for 40 years. The generation today, they cannot seem to understand that they are carrying slave names. That is the dangerous part. You understand? That is the dangerous part. I see even my brother, Rondell Donowa. Rondell Donowa, who we carried in Njak as a young Calypsonian for years, should have known that, hey, yes, you have a slave name. That is how you got the name. So okay. Don't go on Facebook and display your ignorance. What you need to do is accept the fact that you are carrying a slave name. And recognize that just as Bob Marley said it clearly, that whilst the physical shackles have been taken off, we still are left with the mental chains. Alright? And if people think it's just a name, ask yourself, why? Why was it? Right? Why was it that the first thing that the colonial masters did, the slave master did, when he wanted to break you from being an African to conforming as a Negro, the first thing he did was attack your name. After that, he went after your language. After that, your culture. And then, of course, your family structure, your relationship between man and woman. But if we can't get back to that point of first completing that circle of 400 years, then it's work that is still left for our next generation of Pan-Africanists. Let me give back the slave master his name. Alright, so my brother Kareem, there are some beautiful names you can take. You could be Kofi, you could be Kwame, you could even be Taharqa as my name. I'll give you my middle name, Imhotep, the builder of the step pyramids. Your family name could be Obika, as my father would have chosen, which means the family is supreme, as in the family as a unit is supreme. You know? So, people saying, so I see my brother Denzel James, my good brother in Point, would have benefited a lot from the lectures that my father's organization would have had in Point 14. I'm surprised that you two are commenting, because you too would have benefited from that wealth of knowledge when he would have tried door to door in Point 14, trying to convince people in Point 14 of the importance of having an African name. The majority of people in Point 14 who have African names today, as a direct result of the work of my family in Point 14, of my father. So, please, let's put to rest this notion that the European names that Africans in the Caribbean have are not slave names. That I thought Malcolm X dealt with that in the 60s and the 70s. So I thought that was a foregone conclusion. But unfortunately, we still have Africans who don't understand that. This is what they are. What is the issue with calling something for what it is? It is what it is. If you're so triggered, go and get a deed poll. If you're not sure which name to choose, I could help you. If you're not sure which country you want to pick from, I could help you. But the first step in restoration of self, in rectification, in solving that problem, is first recognizing that we have a problem. And I want to say to my wonderful Indian brothers and sisters who are saying on my chat that, you know, you going wrong with the topic and you don't understand. No. I've been a youth leader since the age of 13 years in Njak. You understand? I have given lectures, too many for me to even count at this point in time, on the issue of being an African. I've helped Calypsonians in our emancipation Calypso competition, and Jack even created a competition. This is to show how much we tried. We created a competition targeting the young Calypsonians like Rondell Donowa, who still, for some reason, doesn't understand that he carrying a sleeve name. I see my sister Shini Simmons making a very stylized comment. I hope she's not saying that she missed some of those lessons. Because these are the reason why I call these persons out, because they have commented publicly on Facebook. Alright? And these are public figures. And I want persons to understand that an enlightened African is someone who considers himself completely enlightened. Cannot be so if he still does not change his name. You're almost there. You know, if you're writing an exam, you might get a B+. Because you might wear the clothes. So it wouldn't be like the former chief whip of the PNM. You understand? Who say he's not no mook, he not go and wear a dashiki, this thing that I'm wearing. You understand? He not no mook. He wear no dashiki. That was the PNM chief whip. You understand? I say, my brother KC, it have some names I could give you. You understand? Some good names for you to feel proud of who you are as an African brother. Alright? And let me tell you something. I grew up as a young man in Njak, walking door to door in Laventille, selling liberation papers. We in San Fernando selling that. We had youth seminars. Alright? My mother used to conduct seminars on how to encourage women how to wear their hair natural. I have a young daughter. I emphasize the importance of her carrying her hair natural. And next thing I see, I hear a young African girls going to school wearing braids. That's a different thing. I didn't come to talk about that. You understand? Because I'm dealing with what is inside the mind. Once we fix what is inside the mind, we could deal with what is on the outside. We need to fix what is inside the mind. And the most important thing an African can do for his family is to change his name. So to all my brothers who are of African, I don't like to say descent, all my African brothers, because we are the 6th region of Africa. Alright? All my African brothers. Alright? Look into changing your name. All my Orisha, Ifa worshipping brothers and sisters, stay proud of your name. And if you have already identified an African name, I encourage you, my Ifa Orisha brothers and sisters, to journey down to the relevant authorities, get your deed poll and change your name legally. Alright? Change your name legally. I have 2 children with some beautiful names. The meaning of my daughter's name is God's gift. African name. Mau, in my wife's language, means God. Ina is gift. Mawina, God's gift. If I add the M, Mawinam, God's gift to me. You understand? So, I am a Trinidadian, born and raised. I might have some roots from Tobago too, because on my mother's side, if you go up about 3 generations, it have a Sandy. And you see my structure, you see my height and my size and so on. You know? So, and Sandy was a man who swam from Tobago to the north coast in Trinidad. So I might have some roots in Tobago too. But I also have on my father's side some roots in deep South Trinidad, on American side and so on. Then, still on my father's side, 3 generations up, great grandfather would have come from Barbados to work in the oil, and he would have married a woman from Suriname. All African. My mother, when you go high enough, you reach St. Vincent. My grandfather was a giant of a man, a proud man, a learned man. And he carried a name that they were proud of. But my father, in his wisdom, understood the importance of having an African name. So my grandfather, in his wisdom, educated my father. He went to Presentation College, and then he went to University of the West Indies and he studied history. So my grandfather, in his wisdom, supported his son, my father, to learn history. And it is in his encounters with history, he recognized that he was carrying the name of the capital of France, Paris. And he recognized at that point in time in the 70s, it was necessary to carry an African name. Absolutely necessary. And he changed his name. He changed his name. And if you was Paris' son, you understand? Manager in Texaco. And you change your name. That come with the song that Chuck does sing, "Oh, call me boy, we have TV and car. We live in swell, we have the best so far." How you want to march with this black mob? You understand? My father did that. He did that. So I don't have to go through this turmoil about if I have a quarter this and one 1/16 of that, so I should still have an Irish name and a this name. Rubbish. I am an African man. And let me tell you something. To all you, my wonderful African brothers and sisters, don't let people like Mala Dukaran, where she come in this, talking about racist comments and so on. There's a song from GB, Gregory Ballantyne. They jump on African business, jump on Harambe. He win the Young Kings with that. You understand? What was said was a statement of fact. It's an African name. It's a slave name. Camille Robinson Regis. All those names are slave names. So what? That is a fact. It's a statement of fact. You understand? When Maestro says, so why my name couldn't be Dingaka, Kasavubutu, or Jomo Kenyatta, change your name from George Weeks to Wakamba. Then we go know about that you're serious about black power. La da da dee da da. So all this history is there for people to recognize that we know those are slave names. It is a statement of fact. Why the hell people are getting their head twisted? And I'm seeing what I've noticed too. All my brothers, I've checked online, all my brothers who have African names, they're quiet. And when they put out something, it's like, you know, they're afraid to say something because it might sound bad. So they say, you know what, I'm proud of my African name. And some of them might say, well, I used to get ridiculed by the same Africans with no African name and so on. But you know why they're quiet? To the brothers and sisters who don't have African names and who didn't give their children African names. The reason why the brothers and sisters who have African names are quiet is because they have been saying the same thing for the past 20, 30, 40 years. We have been telling African people, change your slave name for the past 4 decades. Change your slave name. We have been saying that all the time. And we just fed up. So what if Kamala Prasad Bisesa says it is a slave name? It is the truth. You didn't get it from ice cream. You didn't get it from a fortune teller. You definitely didn't get it from Africa. Alright? It is a slave name. You want to get rid, you're feeling triggered because somebody called your name a slave name and it's the truth? Well, here's what to do. Journey to the registrar of births and deaths or names where you go. I do have to know because I didn't have to change my name. And change your name. It is as simple as that. You had to swear a deed poll by a commissioner affidavit. $100. Less than the price to go in 5 islands to slip and slide in the water. Less than the money you spend to go to the cinema with your girlfriend or your spouse. Go down to the registrar of births and deaths and change your name. And then go and get a deed poll. And go by the ID card office and change your ID card. Simple. Go and change your name. What is the issue? If you're so triggered, you understand? So I want to tell my Indian brothers and sisters, my wonderful Indian brothers and sisters, don't buy this fight. leave this now. You understand? We have been saying this for years in the Pan-African movement, talking to African people. The PNM has been stopping the embracing of African culture because the PNM, instead of they come out and say, no, this is true. How much of them PNM ministers get the children African names? Eh? How much of them? What are the names of the Prime Minister's children and grandchildren? What are the names of Camille Robinson Regis's children? What are the names of the front line of the PNM is not African. I was going to say Faris Alwari and Stuart Young and Imbut and D.L. Singh. Who's the next African in PNM who big? What the Penelope Beckles? Does her children have African names? You understand? So you recognize where the problem starts. The problem starts because it is not fashionable in the PNM to be enlightened as an African. If you can't take that well. Is the truth? Finally, the PNM took its time after having Ken Valley saying he's not no idiot, he's not no monkey, no dashiki. He said that in Parliament. That is on Hansard. That is on record till for the next 1,000 years. That an African man, as the chief whip of the PNM, stood in Parliament and said he's not no idiot, he's not wearing no dashiki. Thank God for people like Auntie Joan and Hazel Manning. Because after them, we got to see African women in the PNM wearing African clothes. The men, not so much. There's only wait for the one day African Day, Emancipation Day. You understand? Somebody like me, I had to buy a suit when I became a senator. Because the only suits I have made in Africa. You understand? I had to actually buy a jacket and a tie when I became a senator in the parliament. You understand? Because I understand that when I leave my house and I go to the street, I am a missionary for Pan-Africanism. Alright? So to my brothers and sisters who are African, don't get tied up. As we like to say, don't get wax. Change your African name. You understand? Change your African name. And if you feel so triggered, you want to go on Facebook and shout and thing, call somebody who have an African name. Call one of your friends whose name is Kofi, Kwame, Kojo. You understand? And ask them. Now, some of them might be named Kojo, Kwao, Kwame, and they wouldn't even know that the names are African, eh? That is the sad part. They will not even know that their names are African names. These are Shanti and names somewhere my wife is from the Ewe and so on. So these are names from Western Africa between Benin Kingdom. Benin, the Dahomey Kingdom. So Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast. So they may be, Kwao is a Ghana name. So Rene Kwao, who was a student of Elizabeth's College when I was teaching there. If Rene Kwao who was a national 400 meter, it goes to Ghana today, he will be accepted as if he has returned because Kwao is a popular name in Ghana. So I want to close on this point. To all my brothers and sisters who are African, if you have any money, take a trip to... I see my brother Casey is saying that Parliament is colonial. Yes, it's colonial. But I also own my African clothes in Parliament too. Alright? But I buy the one suit. I own one suit. You understand? And when I say suit, I mean European suit. I own one suit because I find I should spend my money making African clothes. Alright? So, about the one suit to be in Parliament. So if you see men in a suit, it's the same suit you see men. And if it changes because the pants spoil, so I have to change it up. You understand? Because all the suits I invest in are African suits. Because I understand the importance of continuously reminding the African that he break them mental chains yet. Not the Africans still in slavery, mentally. Mentally. But don't worry. We will get there. And if you're African and you have a little bit of money, take a trip to Africa. Dispel the lies by just taking a trip. They love us. They love to welcome us. Our African brothers and sisters in Africa, they miss us. They miss you. And as you land, you know what's the first thing they give you when you land? An African name. I'll go on with that.